guys, how are you doing? Are you guys there? Anyone here? Excellent. That's really good. I'm so pleased to be here. I heard from the organizers that there are 550 people here today. That's just awesome. So, I come from a company called Visma. It's a major player in the Norwegian and Scandinavian market. I'm not going to spend a lot of time talking about Visma today because I have something else I'd really like to share with you. But if you want to know more about Visma, there's a guy there called Mantas. Go and speak with him. Okay? So, I've been extremely fortunate. I was introduced to Agile at a really early stage. So, I've been lucky enough to follow the Agile movement from really small developments that we did stealth development where no one really knew what we were doing. We were doing Agile, but no one else knew. Then we were allowed to do bigger and bigger developments using Agile techniques and Agile values. In around 2005-ish, something happened. Something happened that made us go from stealth, you don't talk about Agile, you just do it, into people asking, how can we do Agile? How can we do Agile for our large-scale projects? It went from being something that we didn't talk about into something that was requested. This session is kind of a grouping and it's kind of what I've learned during those years, especially since 2005. And it's called Succeeding with Large-Scale Agile. Of course, I'm only going to talk about my successes, but there's also a few failures that I learned from. So, you know a little bit about me. Now, I need to know a little bit about you. There's a little bit too many people here for me to kind of interview each and every one of you. So I want to ask you to do something. And I know it's early in the morning, and this is really hard to do, but please humor me, okay? Stand up. Come on, come on. You can do this. Excellent. Okay, already I know a little bit about you, because when I ask people to stand up, there's usually two different types of responses. There's the, I need to stand up. And there's the, well, and I saw a lot of people doing the last one, which is good. I saw a couple of you guys doing the first one as well. Okay, project managers, only project managers. Would you please sit down? Okay, those are the project managers. Okay. All other types of managers, would you please sit down? Okay, yeah. It's hard for you guys to see, but for me, this gives a really good view of what kind of audience we have. QA and testers, would you sit down? Excellent. The rest of you guys, you are awesome. Sit down. Share with you a secret that I've uncovered during all of these years. And it's the most important thing you can learn about large-scale agility. Okay, you ready for this? Oh, nice silence. If you remember this, if this is your only key takeaway from this session, you'll be good. This is the most important thing you can learn about large-scale agility. It's really, 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 really hard to implement. If you feel that it's easy, well, sorry guys, you're doing it wrong. It's extremely hard to do. Most people fail because it's taking development to a whole nother level. We are not doing what we have done before. We are doing something different. Let me explain why it's so hard to do large-scale Agile. I've created a model that I like to call the large-scale Agile onion. And it starts at the core. What we're doing, and what we're still doing, is development. And development by itself is really hard. For some reason, I have a lot of really, really smart friends. I think maybe they like having me around so that they feel superior. But out of all the smart friends I have, the smartest ones are developers. We like to talk about brain surgeons or neuroscientists as really smart people. But the really complex thing that humans are doing today is development. What we are doing and what developers are doing is to take something very, very abstract and translate it in. Then you add collaborations to the mix. You have two people doing something that is really hard, and they have to communicate. They have to collaborate with each other. That makes it even harder. Then, let's add different locations into the mix. You know how people collaborating over different office spaces, maybe different countries, different time zones. And then you add culture. People have very different culture, both work-wise and social culture. I have been working a lot with India and China, and the culture is very, very different from the Norwegian culture. Then, project dependencies. You have projects that are set up this way that are dependent on each other. So you have the developer that has to speak with other developers in different locations, in different cultures, in different projects. If that wasn't enough, let me introduce you to a little friend called portfolio dependency. This is when you bring the upper management into the mix. All of this makes it basically almost impossible to do. But I've found some key things that will make it easier. You will probably not go home after this session and only do the things I say, and you'll be 100% successful. So kind of the title is a little bit of a lie, but all titles are. So if you implement the advice I'm going to go through during this session, it will raise the possibility of you being successful. I'm not covering everything. I'm only going to cover the things that are, from my viewpoint, the most important ones. So, let's go ahead and start at the core, the developers. With Agile, there's lots of methods that you'll be implementing. There's lots of ways of working that you'll be implementing. But there's some things that you need to focus especially on when doing large-scale projects. First thing you need to know about is build efficiency. If you're a manager and you think, why should I care about build? Why should I care about how fast my build is going through? Well, the reason is, if your teams doesn't have a really fast, efficient build system, that you can check your code into and have it built within 10 to 15 minutes, it's going to cost you a lot of money. You really, really have to care about this. You don't need to know about C# or Java or whatever, but what you need to know is that there's someone in my team making sure that our builds are really effective. The next, you need to ensure, even as a manager, is that you have automatic deployment. So when a coder checks in their code, it should automatically build an installer after being built. The reason for this is that it will make it so much easier in all the other steps you're doing. It will also make it extremely much easier to introduce new people to your team. I've been to teams where you get hired and they say, well, let's spend the next 3 weeks setting up your computer. That's not very efficient. And it is also a sign that things are more complex than what they need to do. And the good thing is that even though you are failing in all the other things I'm going to talk about today, if you do this, you will have a lot of efficiency benefits anyway. You also, as a developer, you need to focus on performance. Because in a small project, you basically know how your code is going to be run. But in a large-scale project, you have no idea how your code is going to be run. The only thing you know is that it's a high possibility that it's going to be hit lots and lots of times. So, as a developer in a large-scale environment, you really need to focus on performance for every single piece of code you're checking in. Let's move on to some areas of collaboration. If you have the developers all nice and dandy, they're producing code, everything is efficient, you can go ahead and focus on making good collaboration solutions. The first thing, and this is a piece of advice that looks very less than agile, to say it like that. It's good to gather everyone and speak about who does what. It's not in Agile common to have like a lead architect or you have a lead developer. In Agile, what you really want to do is having people cover a lot of different roles, right? You want it to be kind of a demo, it's democratic type of environment. So you want everyone to kind of participate to make the code and the product as good as possible. But even in those environments, it's really good to have a chart of responsibilities. This is something I've stolen from goal-defined project management, where you set up a simple matrix over the people, over specifically the roles you have. Could be really simple or it could be really complex. And you have all the different tasks that you'll be doing. Then you can put a capital D. You can only have one capital D for each task. If it's something that is a joint decision, you put a D on those two people that have a joint decision on that particular task. P, that's the one who manages this, making sure that it happens. For example, a Scrum Master would have a P in a lot of things. That really didn't sound very well. X is the one that does the work. C is a person that needs to be consulted. That means, basically, if you put a C, that means that that person has to be called into meetings regarding this. If you put an I, means that they need to be informed. Basically, that means send them a mail telling them about what the result was. Being agile, it's not important with the result of this. The chart of responsibility is not something that you'll be sticking really hard to and measuring towards or anything like that. But what's good with the chart of responsibility is that it brings up a lot of really, really good discussions. And that's the purpose of the technique. You need a proper planning tool. Who are using Jira? Okay, so the 3 people that are not using Jira, go ahead and install it afterwards. You need common test environments. You need to have developers and QA people working in the same test environments. If not, you'll have the situation where someone says, well, it works on my machine, so I'm happy. You don't want that. You want common test environments, and you want them to be automatically upgraded so that you don't stress your producing people. This one I'm really passionate about. Coding standards is extremely important when you're collaborating with more people. I'm to the point where I'm getting furious. If I can read someone's code, and even as a manager now, I can actually still read code. I'm a little bit proud of that. If I can read someone's code, and I can say, well, this code was made by you, and this part of the code was made by you, that makes me furious. I really, really hate it. Because trying to navigate someone else's code that is written in a very different coding style, different coding standard, it wastes a lot of time. This might seem like a really small point, but trust me, it's important. Multiple locations. Cost of communication is something that is less of a debate now than what it used to be before. Because now you can have really low-cost communication hardware. But that's not what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is the human cost of communication. In an office space, you're sitting at your desk, and you have your colleague right behind you. You can do like this, and you can ask a question, right? You need to mimic that low-cost communication. I've seen in a lot of working environments, for some reason they are upping the cost of communication with placing developers and PMs, etc., in separate offices. That's a way of raising the cost of communication. Because instead of doing like this, you have to walk from your desk into an office, right? That increases the cost of communication. With multiple locations, you have to figure out what's the way that I can make sure that it's as easy as possible to get communication flowing. How can I avoid having communication being something formalized, where I need to pick up the phone saying, hi, this is Jan-Erik Sandberg, may I speak to blah, blah, blah. How can you make the communication as cost-effective as possible? That will be different from all your different locations. One thing that I found that helps quite a bit is set up a always-on webcam at the coffee machine. Because if you have 2 coffee machines, one in India, one in Norway, what you could do is, I'm in Norway, I'm in India, right? You can go to the cam and say, hello guys, are there anyone there? I need to speak to Sharat. And that's a way of lowering the cost of communication. And having something like a setup like that in 2005, it was ridiculous. It was very expensive. Nowadays, it's commonly used hardware. It doesn't cost anything to set that up. So think about how can you do stuff like that. In all your locations, you need to have domain knowledge. That's also a way to reduce the cost of communication, right? You have to have someone at all locations that knows the business side of this, that knows the domain. If you don't do that, you will see that your remote location is less efficient than your on-site location. It costs a lot to have duplicated domain knowledge, but you have to have it. With multiple locations and multiple teams, align the sprints. Make sure that you're running the sprints at the same time. In the division of Visma that I'm working, we have set 3-week sprints, and we have set that every sprint starts on a Wednesday, 3 weeks, ends on a Tuesday. And we say that we never, ever, ever, ever move the sprints. We say that if there's a big vacation coming up, we club sprints together, but we never, ever move them. And all companies in the division is doing it the same way. So everyone has their sprint demos and their sprint plannings on the same days. And of course, we use link meetings that we record and that is open for everyone to join in on. Small thing, but it really has a high impact. This I could talk about for days, the multiple cultures. And of course, you have heard this before, that culture eats strategy for breakfast. Culture, really, if you look at it, what it means what people are usually doing. That's culture. From a religious standpoint or from a work perspective, culture means what people are used to doing. And people hate change. It's as simple as that. And with culture, you have more people doing the same thing, so there's more people that you need to change, and that's really hard to do. It's basically impossible. So you have to work with it, rather working against it. I'm really passionate about making sure that everyone on the team, even though they're remote workers or they're in a different company, they have to be treated as team members. Because they are. When you extend your team into having more people work together in your team as peers. If you think that you'll be successful with thinking that, okay, I have my main location, and I have some remote workers there. So I just send some work to them, and they do it, and everything's good. That does not work. You have to care about the people that you're working with. You have to celebrate birthdays. You have to make sure that if something's bad in the environment, you have to speak with them about it. You have to know about it. If someone's kids are sick, you should know about them. If you're a manager and you never heard about an offshore worker having sick kids, well, then sorry, you're not enough into it. You should know the guys that are working in your team really, really well. Just as you would with on-site workers. This is something that some people also take a little bit light on. You should learn the basics of the language, the religion, and the politics. Because in some countries, it's really, really, really affecting how people live their life. When working with India, for example, one of the top managers I worked with, he had a really high salary. He was in his 50s. And due to religion, he still sent all his money to his father. And he got an allowance. For us, that seems very strange. And it affects a lot of the rest of the lives for those people, right? How they think, how they act, how they do. You have to understand this. And you also have to understand some politics. Understand how things are actually working in the countries you're working with. Not only for us as customers, but for remote workers as well. If you work in a company that has a remote location, for example here, you need to know something about the language, religion, and politics of your employer. Work culture is also something that is very, very different from different countries. The Norwegian countries are extremely different, I would say. We have a very, very flat organization. We have a very different work culture than I've seen, especially from India and China. It's extremely different. Everyone could come into my office, standing in front of me saying, Jan-Erik, you know something? You're wrong. Try to do that in India. I would probably say, well, that's interesting. Why am I wrong? In India, I would probably say, well, pack your stuff. Actually, I would kind of explain to you why you are wrong, but that's something different. Project dependencies. SOS meetings, Scrum of Scrums. You guys are all doing them, of course. It's that kind of silence I don't want to hear. You are all doing SOS meetings, right? Mantas, are you the only guy doing that? Excellent, top notch. You have to have public planning and demo sessions. Make them on Link or Skype or whatever, and make sure that everyone can attend them. Make them really easy to attend. So send out an agenda in front of the meetings so that stakeholders, etc., can attend your planning and your demo sessions. It's so easy to make it easy. So just go ahead and do it. Make them public, invite people into your planning and demos. Epics. This is a game changer when it comes to project dependencies. What epics is a way of expanding to higher levels. And why would you want to do that? Because user stories do not communicate beyond the development team. They don't. Because understanding user stories also means that you have to understand a lot of the domain. So with epics, you kind of set the direction. Before we had Agile, we had all sorts of sub-projects. The epic, you can kind of think of it as a group of related stories. It uses the same format as your user story. So if you use, for example, the BDD language, the as a role I want to be able to action in order to reason, you use the same format for the epic as well. It has a short description. Does anyone want to answer that? Short description, acceptance criteria, and an estimate. In user stories, I usually ask people to estimate them in thousands so that people don't confuse the estimates for hours. With epics, I usually ask people to estimate using story points of tens so that you don't confuse that either for hours or money. You should never work on an epic directly. You should still work on the user stories. So the epic is just a collaboration, a grouping together of related stories. And since all of you will be running Jira after this session, Epic is, of course, supported by Jira as well. I think